I'm quite embarrassed to tell the story, but
Okay.
I guess I have to.
Uh-huh.
I started it all because I want to be on the stage. Welcome to another episode of lcppodcast. And as we talk about our faith before, how we met God, and now we just want to talk more about that, especially in terms of ministry.
Yeah, just ministry in terms of your personality, right?
Mhm.
Like you're introvert, extrovert, as well as the talents that you feel God gave
Exactly,
you.
yeah.
And sometimes those talents might not even be something that you think you have, but God wants to develop in you, right?
Right, yeah.
So we're gonna get into that. But just to give a brief intro, right? What is our current? How do we see our life currently as being, doing God's ministry? You want to go first?
No, you go first.
Well, for me, it's I think currently it's just being on the AV, the audiovisual
Mhm.
team, supporting some of the technical stuff for Sunday service, like setting up the cameras and hitting record, and changing camera angles and all that. And I guess leading some discussions in the care group when we want to talk about certain topics. And this is also one form of ministry, right? And we're trying
Right,
to reach out to people here. So how about you?
So care group is small group, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Our church call
Yeah.
our small group
Bible
as
study groups.
care group. Yeah.
That's how it's called sometimes. Yeah.
And I'm also part of that. I'm also leading discussion in that so-called care group.
Mm-hmm.
Also at church, I do. Sometimes I sing, worship leading.
Worship leader. Okay.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
But most of the time I play guitar for
Play
the
guitar.
church and the church band.
Mm.
And of course this podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. So, that's what we're doing in terms of our ministries. How do you think your personality fits into these things? Or maybe you can just start with, like, how did you end up with these, right? Let's say it seems like one prominent one is the worship ministry, right? You play the guitar, sometimes you sing, you're gonna sing more often. So, like, how did you end up there? Did you choose it? Did you feel like you have a musical talent? That's why you feel like that's where you can contribute? Yeah, what's the story there?
I'm quite embarrassed to tell the story, but
Okay.
I guess I have to.
Uh-huh.
I started it all because I want to be on the stage.
Okay. Okay. So you're someone who wants to be on the stage.
I want
likes
to be the center of the attention.
Okay.
I'm shy sometimes.
Okay.
But I also have this urge to
To
be prominent.
Okay.
Like
Yeah.
be the center of
Yeah.
the attention.
Uh-huh.
And obviously I don't know how to preach, especially back then. I started this all when I was like high school.
Okay.
So of course I wouldn't preach.
Mm.
And
Yeah, I've never heard of 18-year-old pastor. Yeah. So
yeah. And then I also, at the time, I didn't know that I could sing. So I started to learn how to play an instrument.
Mm.
I started with piano or keyboard.
Mm.
Didn't like it
Mm.
because it was not cool enough.
Not cool enough. Okay. Sorry for all the.
That was my perception back then.
Okay.
Now I regretted it. It's
Yeah.
really cool.
Your wife plays the piano.
I know. That's. I wanted to learn now. I wanted
Okay,
to
you
learn
wanna
because
learn. Okay.
for me now it's
Cool.
cooler
Okay.
than
Okay.
guitar.
But anyway.
But at that
okay.
time, guitar was like very popular, and those times were like the times where rock music is infiltrating the church, and the guitar player is always like
the cool ones.
The leading figure of
Right.
the band.
Yeah.
So I wanted to be a guitarist.
Right.
So I learned how to play guitar and started to do the ministry. And that's how it all started. I guess to answer the question if it fits personality or not, or if that personality affect ministry, I would say in my case, yes.
It led you to that.
Really obviously.
Yeah, but I'm curious, like, so when you successfully train yourself in guitar and then you made it to the stage on like a Sunday service, like anything changed from there? Like, did you then like, wow, yeah, this is all that I was looking for. I finally get to be the center of attention, or anything that God made you realize, change your heart?
God made me realize that it was not about you. Even you on the stage is actually even quote unquote worse, because people looking at you, and people would like to see God through you,
Right.
and that's a big responsibility.
Right.
And
Yeah.
it changed once I got to that level and I actually serving God on stage. For me, from my experience, totally changed. It shifted the whole paradigm, and I think just involving in the ministry helped me to be a better person, to know my strength, to know my personality better.
Yeah.
How about you? Do you have any experience in ministry? How did you get to AV sound system ministry?
I mean, I think it's the same as well, like something to do with personality type in the beginning as well. I always associate myself as like a numbers person, not like a people person, or like not a speaker or someone who talks. Like, I do better with numbers than with words, right? I remember like in school, like writing essays, I hated it, but doing like math problems, I love them. And so that just is also my personality of just being more introverted, so preferring to be in the background, right? Helping and giving what I have. So in school, growing up in middle school, high school, I joined the AV club, the people who help with the sound and all that for like school events. And that's what I'm interested in, right? Because you just figure things out in the backstage and all that.
I see.
So I guess when I join a church, that's one skill or one thing that I'm comfortable doing, which is the AV team. And well, thankfully, a lot of almost all churches will probably need that, right?
Yeah,
so
especially these days, right?
Yeah,
With the COVID.
Yeah, so that's kind of where I end up to. But I think God had other plans for me in my life growing up. Like, again, I always fear public speaking. Like in school, when I have to make presentations, it's always something that is nerve-wracking for me. I remember like how much I have to prep. I have to literally rehearse many times exactly what I want to say. I would write a script with the exact filler words.
Wow.
And make it very conversational in written form, and then all I have to do is memorize that and say it back.
Interesting.
That was how I was struggling with that, and that's why I never associate myself with as much of someone who can speak and something like that. But I think God just sort of exposed me to that somehow.
I mean, yeah, you're here now.
Yeah, like you asking me to co-host this, that's one way that God sort of keep forcing me to get exposed to this. Like even in college, right? Like when I joined this consulting club, right? Well, I think the main purpose is just okay. So I have some professional exposure. Learn about consulting or learn about professional skills. But then in the end, like I had to be put in places where I need to present in front of an audience, like present to like clients, present to other people, and so I was just forced to be in those kind of situation, and that sort of built the muscle to speak and to present. And even after that, being in there for like a couple years, when I graduate, I still wasn't comfortable doing that. But for some reason, like through my job, in fact, my job was sort of in the data analytics space, and I became a data scientist at a tech company. And you would think that, yeah, in a way, I'm making choices that make me feel comfortable,
right?
Because that's dealing with what I'm familiar with. But somehow I'm currently in a role that is very like business focused. So a lot of interaction with like other teams, not just with like technical people, but also with like other managers or other product managers or salespeople. It's just a lot of that. So my job, basically forced me to develop those skills, like being in meetings, running them, influencing stakeholders, all that kind of stuff. And it's a learning process, but over time, over the years, like I got comfortable at it. I pushed myself to do it. My manager just wants me to develop in that area because that's where I'm lacking. So in the end, that is how I see, as I mentioned earlier, how God can develop a talent in you. Like sometimes you're not born with it. I mean, like your guitar is not also like you're born with it, but you practice it and you master it, and God also develops this skill of speaking and presenting over the years. And that's why I even dared to say yes to do this with you, or even agree to maybe lead discussions in small groups.
That's great, because like it just proves that God's not just developing the talents inside of us, but also giving us the opportunity to train us, to I guess just experience to how God actually develop our talents inside us, like how we can showcase what God has done in us. And I'm just curious, like, what was your thought process when I approach you and ask you to, hey, you want to be the host of this podcast?
I mean, I was pretty surprised, like, oh, what? Like I would never have thought to do that again, because of my tendencies and what I'm comfortable with, but I think one is, well, you told me, hey, if you don't agree to do this, then no podcast is happening, and sort of guilt tripping me with that. But then on a more serious note, I reflected, and again, like looking back through that life experience I just described, I realized, well, like it or not, or whether this is me or not, like that's what God has developed throughout my life experience. And this became a talent, or I like to believe that sort of a talent that God can use, especially during this time. So I also thought, in the grand scheme of things, I think this would be good. It would be good to use it for God's work. So along that line, like anything that you feel is a growth opportunity, or like a time when like the church or God puts you in a situation to do something you're not comfortable with, how do you deal with that, and what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, yes, just like I mentioned before, my experience being on stage is not as exactly what I thought I would experience before. So a lot of things happen, like making mistakes. I'm quite a perfectionist, so having to experience that is challenging, right? And it shaped me in a different way. It gets me uncomfortable to be on stage for quite some time, but again, God's so faithful and helped me to develop my talents on that. And lately, I don't know why, people in our church pushing me to start singing.
Yeah.
Not just singing as a backup singer, but like
Yeah.
leading a song, which is
Yeah.
something that I never imagined before. It's very uncomfortable for me because I never see myself as someone that has a nice voice. I know that I can find the tone,
Yeah, you're not
the
tone
tune.
deaf.
I'm not, I think. But I personally feel like my voice is not that good for a singer. So I was like, I don't know.